Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Maddie Zeminski, and I'm a teenager who is striving for change. For the longest time, I was unable to appreciate myself due to oppression because I couldn't find anything in my life that was worth being proud of. Now I have. To some of you, 16 years might be a short amount of time. Some of you may feel as though the years of your lives are flying by, but to me, 16 years has proven to be an accomplishment. For 16 years, I have stood my ground against racism and discrimination, with the lingering hope that society will finally see me for who I am and for the good that is within me. Though I'm standing in front of all of you living and breathing, I have already died my first death. My first death was when I had to grow up too fast, and my second death is still to come. I could have ended my battle against racism a long time ago, and believe me, I considered it many times. But something has kept me here all of this time anyway, and I'm here to tell you what that is. 5 years old. I was only 5 years old when I had to grow up, when I had to abandon all of my childhood innocence. While the other children in my class were still fantasizing about being the next kings and queens in the whitewashed, stereotypical Disney movies that they watched at home, I was sitting by myself with a box of crayons trying to figure out why can't I draw a picture of myself with those colors. Trying to figure out why people kept telling me that I was black when I knew that I wasn't the same color as the black piece of construction paper in front of me during art class. 8 years old. I was only 8 years old when I realized that society was willing to dish out painful labels to people of all ages, but only of one color. The words spilled out of the boy's mouth like acid from an overturned container. It was simple. It was all because his jealousy had a larger voice than his respect did. Him and I ran a race after school one day, and I won. Maybe not a very large accomplishment for you, but for two 8-year-olds, it was big. He immediately wheeled around and spat these words at my face. The only reason you won the race is because you're black. Your people are so used to running away because they don't know their place. I never raced a white person again willingly. 13 years old. I was 13 when my friends and I discovered that one racial slur on the outside of the school building. 13 years old when I first understood the label that society liked to use for us. The word that carried so much anger and pain and power when only composed of 6 letters. 14 years old. I was only 14 when that one racial slur was used to first label me personally in the halls of my high school. I was 14 when those 3 senior boys stopped me in the hallway of my high school and asked me how my parents ended up with a black girl like me. I was only 14 when a boy who was much older than me asked me if my black breasts would feel just as nice as the ones of white girls that he felt up in the bathroom downstairs. Believe me, I ran, but the memory still freaking follows me. I was just 14 when a white boy sexually harassed me in class by grabbing me between my legs and whispering that if I screamed, he would say that I threatened him first. He used his white supremacy card to threaten me out of protecting myself. None of the other kids did anything. When I began to cry, they just said, "Shut up, what are you crying for?" Little did they know that I wasn't just crying for my lost innocence, but I was grieving a trust that might never return. I was grieving the diminishing hope for a society that could respect me for who I was. I was grieving for the self-love that I hadn't seen since I was 5 years old. 16 years old. I was 16 years old when 2 adults in a red car took it upon themselves to strip away one of the last things of myself that I had left. My sliver of freedom that I used to carry. Ever since the incident, I've been too scared to go out of my house on my own. Because those 2 adults took it upon themselves to throw flaming material out of a car window at my face while I was walking my dog alone. I guess one of the good things about these masks that we have to wear now is that I can hide the burn scar on my face underneath. The scar's a little sensitive to light. Probably since I've been living the past years of my life in the dark shadow of oppression that always seems to be lurking above my head, ready to strike at any given moment. Some of you may think that the physical scars are what get to us black people, but the emotional scars can dig deeper. The saying actions speak louder than words does not always apply. 16 years old. I was 16 when 3 white male adults approached me while I was at work and asked me how I could read the iPad in front of me if my people were still illiterate. My people. A repetitive phrase that always seems to be thrown at me. I wish I knew who my people were at this point. I was adopted, my mom and dad are white, my whole family is white. Are they my people? Or the faces I'm seeing out here in the crowd today, showing me that they've felt the same pain as I felt. Are you my people? Racism is a disease, a parasite. It feeds on those who are uncultured about other races and causes them to spread these hateful messages and crimes to others who are also uneducated on what it means to be human. As a Black girl living in Vermont, life was challenging to begin with due to the lack of people like me who I could connect with. But to make things harder, none of my family members were ever able to relate to my pain. So I had to do it all by myself. I may look strong to some people on the outside, but it has been a lonely, depressing climb to change on the inside. Who am I to you? No, seriously, who am I to you? Am I just another Black person giving a speak to you with the hopes of bringing along change? Am I just a teenager trying to act like an adult with the hopes of respect? Am I just another girl who is looking for answers to all the questions that no one has ever told her? I'm gonna let you know right now that I am none of those things. I am still that 5-year-old girl who couldn't understand how she was apparently the same color as the black piece of paper in front of her. I'm still that 8-year-old child that fell to her knees that day, never wanting to run again. I'm still that 13-year-old teenager that discovered the name to the blazing target on her back that society had so willingly given her. I am still that 14-year-old high school girl who thought that baggy sweatshirts and lack of eye contact could keep white boys from exploring parts of her bodies that weren't theirs to take. I am still that 15-year-old girl who found that staying quiet when she was in pain was difficult to do, but speaking up was hardest to accomplish. And now in front of you, I am that 16-year-old girl who wears both the physical and emotional scars of oppression. And you may be wondering how I've held on so long when society hasn't even given me so much as a handhold on this cliff that I'm still trying to reach the top of. And there's a reason why I'm still here. And the reason is that society has broken us down, us people of color, for so long, torn down our protective walls, emotional foundations, physical bodies, and has left us at the bottom of this cliff. But what society has overlooked is the one thing that I've held on to and had hope about all these years. And that is that once you've hit rock bottom, there's only one way to go from there, and that's up. If you haven't seen us already, look closer. If you haven't heard our chants and our cheers and our speeches and our songs, listen harder. And if you still haven't realized that we are no different than all of you white people out there, take us by the fricking hand. You will realize that we have fingerprints and grooves in our palms just like you. We have skin and nails just like you do. And our hands can do all the things that white people can do. We are artists and teachers and athletes. We are preachers and musicians and authors and listeners and thinkers. We have the capability to do anything, and the color of our skin doesn't diminish who we are. So if you aren't going to help us in this movement for change, at least don't block our paths. Because you best believe that we are climbing that cliff to change, and nothing is going to stop us now. And for the people who are protesting against us, trying to prevent us from fighting for our lives, the lives that have been controlled by others for so long, think about how your actions are only defining you as a person and not us. You can scream and yell profanities at us all you want, but if you were to ever be asked, do you want to try and live a day in the life of a person of color, you would stay silent. Because you know what's going on. You know what we're going through, and you would never want that for yourself. I hope I've left those of you here today with some added hope for the future, and I love you all. Thank you.